Welcome to the 29th show in a series of shows focused on Brookline as an age-friendly community. In 2012, the World Health Organization of the United Nations designated Brookline its first age-friendly city in New England. This was a result of the dedicated work by Brookline residents, the Select Board, town administrative departments, and of all volunteer organization Brookline Can, which provided leadership. A co-founder and one of the driving forces behind Brookline Can was Frank Caro, who died recently. He also was a force behind the Brookline Age-Friendly City movement and Brookline Can. We'll miss him terribly. The show is entering its 6th year, and we owe much, an awful lot to the support of the Brookline Interactive Group, BIG, and its staff and facilities. BIG is in a new phase right now and a new relationship and role in the community due to the pandemic. With great pleasure, I'd like to introduce a guest from BIG, Ann Theis, Director of Programs in Brookline Interactive Group. Ann worked originally in the community-based media after attending Antioch College and becoming a documentary filmmaker. She started a career in the community media at the Manhattan Neighborhood Network. And she started as a production assistant there, becoming a director of production and education. For 12 years, Ann guided the Open Media Foundation, which is centered in Denver, working with the Denver Open Media. Youth media itself is a passion for Ann. She's mentioned it a number of times, and she mentored hundreds of youths over 20 years. At BIG, Ann manages the educational programming for adults and youth, manages interns, handles community outreach, and grant writing and reporting, which we'll get into later. Ann is also a recipient of the 2019 Dirk Kerning George Stoney Award in Human Communication. Just as an aside, I noticed Markey got the 2016, our senator got the 2016 award. Welcome, Ann.
Well, thank you so much, Matt, for having me. It's such a pleasure to be here with Age Friendly Cities and to represent BIG and what we're doing in the community in Brookline and also with the senior community.
Well, that's great. So first of all, why don't we start off with an explanation for about BIG and your role in the community, because what is community media, meaning BIG? And we have never discussed that on the show.
Oh, wow.
And while we do that, you might mention your role in it.
Okay. Yeah, well, I mean, I think the role of community media has changed a lot over the years and also stayed the same a lot over the years. We originally, Brookline Interactive Group was known as BATV. It's been around for 35 years. And about 6 or so years ago now, we went through sort of a rebranding and changed the name to Brookline Interactive Group to reflect some of those changes that have happened over the last, 30 years. And so we now describe ourselves in our work as being an integrated media and technology education facility and a community media hub for our community of Brookline. BIG facilitates diverse community dialogue, journalism, incubates, and funds hyperlocal storytelling, journalism, media literacy, and all kinds of technology projects, including some of our newest projects, which are virtual reality projects. And we've served over 500 youth and adults annually through a lot of our classes and our partnerships. So the heart of the original intent and the heart of what we do is really running 2 local cable channels. And that is where community media has really come from for, over 35 years, is that there was a bunch of activists that back in the day when the cable companies first started coming out and digging up all of our streets and all of our cities across the United States. And we knew that they were going to build a huge infrastructure and make millions and millions and millions of dollars off of that. And so a bunch of activists, joined together and made some legislative changes within our telecommunications laws to make sure that some of that right of way, some of the money being made off of that, was put back into the community. And so that's put back into the community through local governments. It funds projects in local governments, infrastructure, telecom infrastructure as well, like intranets and things like that. Also provides public educational and government channels for the community, which were meant to serve as hyper-local forms of communication, and also to give some money to make sure that there could be an actual local community television station where people could actually understand and learn television and communication technologies, have their own show, have their own voice, so that it wasn't just nothing but corporate airwaves across the whole cable spectrum. Yeah. So that's what we were born out of, and that's the purpose that we still yet serve today, on top of all of the new innovations and technologies that we do.
So in other words, people who are isolated and have difficulty reaching out to the community and hearing what's happening there, and being able to relate to all the various things that other people see and interacting back and forth. They might go physically to classes they couldn't go to. They might go hear sessions and performances that they can't otherwise see, and they might see this stuff on community media. And we now have a good part of the population in that position. So you have quite an audience.
Yes, and that's something that it was like a nice surprise for us during the pandemic. Something that was a silver lining during this terrible time is that we once again felt very needed, and that the skills and what we bring to the community were exactly what the community needed at that time. Knowledge of technology, understanding of audio and video, and online services. And so we jumped in immediately as soon as the pandemic happened, as soon as we basically had to close our doors because the Brookline High School closed, which is where our facility is in the Integrated Arts Building. And we had to close our doors. So we had to leave all that equipment, all our studios behind, and leave, and still figure out how to serve the community when we were very entrenched in, having in-person classes or teaching VR. It was a very one-on-one or one to very few people. We tried to keep a very low ratio of people to give them the best education possible. So here we are, now we can't have access to any of this equipment, but then all of a sudden we see this need happen. And it first started with the select board, emergency town select board meeting. And so our IT network administrator very quickly, over a day or two, built some computers that would allow us remote capability into our facility, connected to our broadcast system, so that we could, from our homes, actually connect with people through Zoom or WebEx, and still capture that, and then be able to get that onto our channels locally in Brookline, as well as up on YouTube and Facebook as well, so that we could have hundreds, thousands of people watching while this stuff was going on, and all safely within their own homes.
Thank you. I will say that because we've been through a lot. We've been through a lot of, and it's not over, but we've been through a lot of issues in the town. We've been through issues obviously in the nation and in the world, and around the town, and with different groups. And certainly older adults were locked in for a long period of time, and television, and not everyone can stream, but they could get it there. But the access and availability of television, you've done your job, and look forward to you doing that going forward. But I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, thank you. I appreciate that. And, it's really made my job so pleasurable. I've been doing this for, 20 years, and to really see a community come behind big and appreciate what we can offer the community in terms of media and technology and access to mass communications within the community has been so rewarding in my career. And I've, like you said in my bio, I've been in New York, I've been in Denver, and Brookline is such a small community for me to work in compared to my history. But to see the impact that an organization like Big can have in a small community is so wonderful, because the Boston area, in any large city area, there's usually, the media outlets are in one major city, and they tend to focus on that one city. So in Boston, it's not surprising, like anywhere else, that Boston news focuses first on Boston, right? But we focus first on Brookline, and that's where our heart is, and that's what we're always trying to think about, how we can serve the community better, connect with people more. And that's kind of like when all of this happened with the pandemic, and we started seeing who needed to have the training to understand how to get video and audio working in Zoom, how to use lighting better, how to make themselves look more professional so that people don't look like, you can see their ceiling and up their nostrils during a meeting. We wanted to teach people how to look a little more professional and to look better and to make it kind of TV quality, so that it was something that people wanted to watch, and as they just, because they needed to watch it, but we also wanted them to want to watch it. And so as we were doing all these things, we started getting asked to do forums and different things that obviously couldn't be done in person. And Frank Caro, who you mentioned, and who I was very, very, very sad about the loss of Frank, he is the first person that I really worked with in the senior community in Brookline to start bringing some of these forums together to talk about what was going on in the senior community, how it was affecting them with COVID or with housing, all these different issues. And so when I started working with him and learning more about the Brookline Senior Center and Brookline Can, I started to really think about that need and think about all of the seniors, the like 10,000 or so seniors in Brookline that might not have access to online technologies, that may or may not have computers, smartphones, iPads. Some of them know how to use it, some of them don't. But a lot of seniors do have cable. And so I started thinking, gosh, why don't we start focusing our programming around this need? And so we had already developed a partnership with the Brookline Library, with the Public Library of Brookline, and they were doing children's programming. So initially we were doing some programming to try to help parents have story time or different activities that, they could put their kid in front of a screen, but it would still be informative and educational. And then one of the other programs they have was gentle chair yoga. And I saw,
people love that. I have to
oh
tell
yeah.
you.
And I realized, I was like, oh my gosh, people were actually watching. If there was any technical problems, people would complain. And so I was like, okay, this is a needed thing. People are in isolation and they need exercise, they need activity. And so we started reaching out to other people in the community and trying to increase and grow as much programming as possible, and then to get it into different scheduling blocks to make it easier for people to find and to kind of know a time of day when they could go and rely on that. So in speaking with the Hebrew Senior Life, she was the first person.
Or a baby, right?
Yes. Yeah, Laura. And she was the first person to say, you know what, send me a program guide and I will get it out to the seniors. I'm looking for stuff for them to do. And so that's sort of where it started to get cemented, was that I formalized the schedule. She told me the times of day that generally, seniors watch, the kinds of programs that we should try to focus on. And we started going through the community and trying to build partnerships. And so now we have not only Hebrew Senior Life, but the Senior Center, Goddard House, 2 Life communities, and Brookline Can all receiving this senior guide every week and disseminating it to all of the seniors that they're connected to. And we've gotten new programs, and not only do we have the library programs like gentle yoga and crafting, but we have the Brookline Bees crafting. We just launched a new show this week called Rola Spanish Classes. So it's a beginner Spanish classes. And so they'll be doing new episodes for adults and for children every single week.
That's great.
The Brookline Rotary, Two Life exercises. So Two Life has been doing, and communities have been doing exercise classes in their own facilities, and they have their own sort of closed circuit cable system in their communities, and they're sharing that content with us, and we're putting that out to the larger community, and then they're sharing our TV guide also with their seniors. And also
going forward, this is not just for pandemic, right?
No,
Please.
I mean, no. It starts with like we have to take the bad things that have happened, and there's so many positive things that have come out of the pandemic in terms of our communication and the, not having to rely on where we are to connect and be with people. So yes, this is I hope to keep continuing this, building that further and further out into the future. So we've also, written a grant, and I have another grant that I'm hoping to submit in January as well to help expand and continue these programs and these partnerships within the community.
What's the Brookline, the grant that Brookline Can's one piece of it, I think. What's the grant? What's that for?
Well, it's to continue what we're doing. So like, a lot of the organizations that we've kind of been partnering with, like the Brookline Adult and Community Education, they've lost a lot of funding because they, like us, were doing a lot of in-person programming, and they're having to transition to online format. And so they've lost a lot of money doing that because not everybody can afford it right now, and B, not everybody likes to take classes or can take classes online. So so we want to make sure that organizations like that are doing online classes could record them, just do like a little bit of packaging to make it more like a television program, and to be able to, pay those instructors and the people teaching cooking classes or language classes or whatever, so that we can get that content onto our channels and then out to the wider public, and most especially to people living in isolation like seniors are.
It's a fantastic opportunity, and we don't want to lose, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the basis. Is the opportunity's there, and let's grab it. And
exactly.
Yeah, that's I'm looking forward. That's really great.
Yeah, and that's just like, so that's kind of one part of it, is like working with organizations like that, but then also another big part of the partnerships is with Steps to Success. So we've done some successful programmings, as you mentioned in my bio, that I've worked with youth for my whole career. I love working with youth. And we are trying to create an intergenerational media program. Because we work with youth so much, and that's gotten pretty successful. I'm in a pilot program right now with 4 young women from Steps to Success, and they're creating digital stories that they have captured these audio stories with their grandparents to talk about things like the first time they voted, or what was it like being an African-American woman in the South back in like the 40s and 50s, or what it was just like to have dogs, when 50 years ago or whatever. So there's just like these little stories from their grandparents' lives, and then they're putting images to them, editing them, and trying to create a story, and then we're going to put them out to the community. And so the next step is that we're going to work with some seniors with the Brookline Senior Center is going to connect me and these youth with some other seniors in the community who are in isolation but have stories that they would like to tell, and we're going to try to connect those youth, build relationships between younger people and older people, and hopefully, moving towards shared learning and, both technology and wisdom,
I have a relationship like that with synagogue. They have some of the bar mitzvah, these 13-year-olds, and are communicating with older members of the synagogue, and just every couple of weeks talking and discussing their activities and our activities and where things are, etc.
Oh, that's fantastic. You're doing that online? Like you've been doing
that's on the phone. So
Oh.
it's being
That's good. And did that start before the pandemic?
not lost for me, so that's all right. Yeah, it started. It's COVID. It was COVID-19. It set it off. And well, they're doing all the things that Big is doing there. They have constant classes, constant communication, etc. They're good people to work with, all of them. I mean, all the various organizations, the nonprofits, etc., that have had to react. And these people happen to be very good. They put it all together, but not as good as you guys.
Well, if you know of anybody, any nonprofits out there that, want to send us any recordings that they're doing on Zoom and they want it out there, please feel free to contact us.
Yeah, great. They distribute this show. I mean, and I distribute your programming. But so we'll see where this goes. I mean, everything's coming together as far as I can tell, so fast as compared with all the years past that things went very slowly. There was some progress, some back steps, and now's the opportunity where everything is moving forward very rapidly. Sorry.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, if you want, I could show people how they can actually get a hold of us and find us online. Is that what you're gonna ask?
Yeah, that was exactly what I was gonna ask.
Sorry.
No, that's great. If you can just give us a good demo of how we get to things on Big. Separate from, they know how to do the channel and the TVs, right? But how do they do YouTube? That's a question that I get all the time. I say, the show's on YouTube. And I say, that's great. How do I get to it?
Well, we have a very easy way for you to get to it. So this is the homepage of our website. So it's just right here, brooklineinteractive.org. Because we are, of course, a nonprofit organization. And so this is the page that you'll land on. And so the very first thing that you see is this banner and, of course, the Watch Live, which is one of our most important features. And so when you click on this button here, you go to this live stream page, and here is where you can access all the different streams that we have. So, of course, as I mentioned earlier, we have 2 channels. We have our community channel, which is where the bulk of our content is. All the programming that I talked about with, of course, Age-Friendly Cities is on the community channel, and all the other great programming I mentioned earlier. And then the Civic Channel is more of our government channel. So this is where, if you're interested in seeing the select board meeting or the school committee meetings.
Is that where the town meeting will be?
The town meeting will be on the... Usually, with really important events, with like the town meeting, we sometimes double broadcast them and put them on both, but it certainly will be on the Civic Channel. You can definitely get it there. And so you can
that's also
right. What was that?
I said that's also community. That's obviously everything, in fact, the town meeting. But
it's where it comes together.
So you can go to Facebook there also. Watch Facebook Live.
Yep. And so the YouTube and Facebook Live are only active if, there's actually a live thing happening. So like if you were to go there now, I'll just open a new tab. You're just going to go basically to this live page. But you can click here and you can see our other videos. So you can go to our library. You can see other stuff that was recorded in the past.
Quality writing.
And of course there's commercial there. And you can also click on our playlist, and if you go to our playlist, you can see shows. So we have, like I mentioned, the 2 Life programming from the Brookline Adult and Community Ed, senior focus programs, the ukulele shows, our youth programming, voting stuff, and of course, Age-Friendly Cities has one as well. So we kind of keep all of those things on YouTube curated, but then they're also, all on our website as well. Back on the homepage.
Website.
So, because we have all of the content as it comes in. This is all the freshest, newest content on the homepage. So this is just on brooklineinteractive.org here. and you can see everything that's been coming in for the last week or so will be at the top.
Amazing.
Yeah.
The
And
content.
then,
It's the content, Dan. I'm thinking years ago, when we first started, 6 years ago, something like that. And before that, looking at, and the content, there was always, searching and reaching, is there something? And this is so rich.
yeah.
Great.
Yeah, and one last thing I just want to mention about the website too is, so if you click on either of these watch for the channels, these are exact mirrors of what's going out on the channels. And you can actually watch it online, exactly what's going on right now. So right now we're in between programming, so it's just showing community information. So we also love to get stuff from people and say like, something's happening in the community, or like a public service announcement or whatever. We take that from anybody in the community, and we'll create an advertisement, it's like a bulletin board that we air up there. So that's just going through. And then over here, you can see the programming. And so you can see what's coming up now and next. You can see the entire schedule. And so, for example, you can click here on Brookline Bees, which is going to be playing at 4 o'clock in about 15 minutes. And you can find out other air times of when it's coming up. And you can also, not all of, but much of our content is VOD. So if you don't want to wait for it to air on the channel, you can always, and you have access to online content, you can watch it on demand as well. So yeah, so that's how people can find all of the great content that's being submitted by the Age Friendly Cities, by all the other senior groups, and just anybody in the community can have a TV show on Brookline Interactive Group.
Fantastic. And what about so we're going forward, and we have community media. We have commercial media, right? They're around. Aren't they still around? Yeah. Well, they used to be on TVs. Now they're streamed. They were there streaming before for up to a certain age. Now they stream for everybody. There's very few that watch by appointment. The social media role, Brookline Interactive used to be involved to some extent, and that's why I noticed the Facebook that you pointed to, Facebook Live, does Brookline Interactive work with the social media at all? And you don't work with commercial media, correct?
No, everything we do is, we use social media to be able to connect with people and get our content out. So of course we have Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. We're just getting going on all different kinds of platforms. Gosh, I just totally forgot TikTok, but I can't believe it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we just started, we posted 2 videos on TikTok, and we have an intern now that is 23 who thinks he's too old to use TikTok.
I'm just going to say, that's for the older adults, right? The older teens.
Yeah, not even. I think he's finding that it's more even younger teens and middle schoolers that are one of the main age groups. But of course, because of the pandemic, more people are like online looking for things, looking for stuff to do. And the demographic is actually changing on TikTok to become older and older. So that
is grandparents looking over their grandchild's shoulder.
Yes.
What are you doing? What are you laughing at? What are you giggling at? We have all been there many times over.
Exactly.
Oh, wait. Oh, maybe that is funny. I don't know. What kind of dance is that? I don't understand. Yeah, that's great. Oh, we're running. The time is running down. We had a couple of questions that were just I guess just in general, your view of going forward. The social, and I'm thinking from the social point of view, and Big's role in people interacting.
Yeah.
As far as where we're going right now, any thoughts?
I mean, I think that a lot of the lessons learned from the pandemic, a lot of the positive things, and people getting forced to use technologies like what we're doing right now, using Zoom to do a TV show. I think those things will continue, and I think that that's great. And I think things that we've learned, like where we've seen people in isolation or where we've seen lack of digital literacy, I think we can work to change those things. One of the other programs that we've been working on, as I mentioned earlier, we have this, virtual reality program, which is fantastic. But because of the pandemic, that's something that really had to stop, because it was, again, we work very person to person at Big. And so putting on headsets on people, teaching them how to use the controllers, you can't be 6 feet apart. You have to be in the same room, very close to them. So we couldn't do that anymore. So it kind of got put on pause for a while. But we've still been working on this amazing project called Arrival VR, which is it's a virtual reality storytelling project where we're collecting immigration stories from people in the community and all over the place, not even just in Brookline, but all over. But we do have a Dukakis story. We're taking those stories and we're putting them into a 360 timeline, a 400-year timeline of the United States and the history of immigration, and putting these stories on that timeline so you can put a headset on and see them and kind of be immersed in the story of either their own personal immigration story or their family's immigration story. And we want it to be an educational tool for people to, teach about history and teach about like how we all have shared stories and similar stories, whether they're from 400, 500, 200, 5 years ago. We all have these stories of human migration.
I
And
can see a lot of places that can go that are interesting.
yeah. So we're still, you can go to thepublicvrlab.com to find out more about that project. We're still looking for participants. So if anybody watching this wants to be a participant, we'd love to hear from you. And you can always email us at info@brooklineinteractive.org. And then something we can't talk too much about because we don't have it finalized, but one of the projects we have down the pike is we are looking to, working on this project with ARP to try to figure out how to bring VR to seniors and to be able to use that as a way for them to feel more connected again during periods of isolation, to connect with their families or just for something to do even, I worked in a retirement home all throughout my high school years and like as an after school job. And I saw like the need for interaction. And, I used to bring my like Nintendo set there and the seniors would be like, what's happening? And, they'd want to play and then it would engage them. It was amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's all we can cover, but anytime you want to come back, that's great, Ann. As things progress and as things change, nobody knows where we are next. But I would love to have you back, and I'd love to go further into some of the things that are going forward. So I want to thank you. I want to thank everybody that's watching, and I want to remind them that it'll be not only rebroadcast but available on YouTube and available just the way you showed. The show over the next several weeks, as well as being aired on the actual channel TV. Yes, and
Channel 3.
And of course on the Big and Brookline Can websites, we have it all the time, and Brookline Can Facebook and Twitter accounts. We put all your stuff out and our stuff, so it'll be there. Thanks again.
Thank you so much, Matt. I really enjoyed talking with you. You're such a wonderful, warm person, and I love what you guys are doing. So thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.